The primary theme that we're seeing right now, as John spoke, is the accelerating rate of change. I'm not talking about incremental acceleration. I'm talking about a step function, a significant change in the rate that technology in the industry is evolving. Some of you may have heard of the fellow Ray Kurzweil. He's a well-known author, inventor, and futurist, and in a recent essay that he wrote, he said that the analysis of history of technology shows that technological change is exponential. So we won't experience 100 years of progress in the 21st century. It'll be more like 20,000 years of progress. I'm not sure if I agree with all of his theories, but I think he's put his finger on something. To take this idea for a test drive, just think about how long it took to get from the stone tablet to paper, then from paper to TV, and then from TV to a virtual teleportive experience. We can go to concerts now and be entertained by holograms. I watched a clip of this concert the other night. Tupac Shakur, a rapper who died some time ago, I think in '98 somewhere around there, was transported on stage by hologram in April to steal the show at Coachella 2012. This is crazy, but clearly technology will continue moving in this direction. If we bring this closer to home and look at our business landscape for a second, it doesn't take long to see that we're living in a time when you can go from zero to success faster than ever before. Now think about this. It took Microsoft 10 years to sell 100 million copies of their operating system. LinkedIn, 8 years, you get 100 million users. Apple sold its 100 millionth iPod in 5. Facebook, about 4 years, it had 100 million. Instagram, on track to hit 100 million in 2 years. And Draw Something. It's an application, it's a little app, it's a really cool little app. 50 days to hit 50 million users. Now just as fast as that app hit 50 million users, it's going down to 0. The lesson learned is you can go from 0 to success as fast as you can go from success to 0. Now these examples illustrate where we're seeing the speed of change, significant important changes will continue to accelerate. Now for most of the people in this room, this new reality means that we need to work better, faster, smarter, and unfortunately it sounds kind of familiar. Let's face it, when you're in the midst of rapid change, it can be overwhelming and even chaotic. There are a lot of days where I kind of figure it'd be a lot more fun to be a vegetable farmer. But ultimately, what we need to remember is this rapid change can be overwhelming. It is also massively opportunistic. Creative disruption offers new opportunities on a constant basis. This morning, I'd like to first take a look at what's driving this rapid change. Is it the emergence and divergence of technologies, the globalization of cultures, commerce, and information, the rising power of the consumer? Our answer to all these questions is yes. Second and most important, we'll take a look at how you can leverage these forces to your advantage and position yourself and your career for success. So let's start with what we believe is driving the change. It's certainly no surprise that technology is sitting front and center. Take a look at this graphic. In a single day, we send 294 billion emails. 271 million people will check in on a social network. More than 35 million apps will be downloaded. 1,300 new apps will be launched. Here's another fact, and this one is particularly stunning. Around 250 million photographs will be loaded onto Facebook today, and that's not the weird part. The fact is, 10% of all photographs ever taken in history were taken in the last 12 months. We've been taking photographs since 1838, 10% of them taken in the last 12 months. If you play the scenario out, these numbers are going to be bigger tomorrow, they'll be larger next year, and a decade from now, they'll be just enormous. So these technologies are empowering individuals like never before, which brings me to what we believe is the second major force behind the rate of change, your customer. Today's new customer has the power to make you hot if you're Instagram and not if you're AOL. They're opinionated, decisive, and fickle. Fast Company believes that this new customer is part of an emerging demographic, a group the magazine is calling Generation Flux. This is less a demographic designation than a psychographic one. The Gen Flux group embraces instability, tolerates recalibrating careers, business models, and assumptions. Now, sometimes I think Gen Flux is Generation ADD, a place where you think in 440 characters, text and drive, and go to sleep with our smartphones next to our bed. My daughter's a Gen Fluxer. I see this, I watch her moving effortlessly from one device to another, flipping between Facebook, Twitter, her cell phone, texting, and posting photographs. There's an app called TextVision, and the other day I looked at this app with Sophie, and it uses a camera on your phone so you can show where you're going when you text and send emails at the same time as you're walking or whatever. The pitch for the product says, no more running into walls, cars, trucks, or signs. Let your camera show you where you're going so you can text safely. I like Sophie, no, we're going to take that one off. Clearly not all these technologies are progress. Now, Gen Flux, however, does not apply just to other people like my daughter. It applies to all of us. We're all Gen Flux. Now, let me try a test here. I know you're all very nice, and it's a great crowd, and I appreciate you being here. But how many of you have sent or had the urge to send a text while I've been talking? Let's face it, in one way or another, we're all adopting the behaviors of this group. We're all going to have to learn to work with this new demographic, and it's no simple task. Most of our institutions, educational, corporate, and political, are not built for flux. Few traditional career tactics train us for an era where the most important skill is the ability to acquire new skills. Let's take a minute and meet some of these Gen Fluxers and hear what they have to say.
My relationship with the internet starts from the moment I wake up.
Check my Facebook.
Facebook and Twitter.
BuzzFeed, IO9.
Email is very important.
Gmail, Google Docs.
I use Evernote.
GoToMeeting.
LinkedIn, Foursquare.
I am a slave to my phone. I think I'm connected to like 500 people on LinkedIn. I have about 900 Facebook friends, and I have about 3,500 followers on Twitter.
There's this weird sense of when you're not plugged in, you're missing something.
Like at lunch, I'll check my phone again to see my personal email.
I can do anything from my phone, figuring out what restaurant I want to go to, do my banking.
In the course of about a 15-minute walk, I was probably utilizing at least 10 or 15 different mobile apps.
The internet is a natural extension of my brain.
And then when I get home,
I will fall asleep with the iPad hitting my face at the end of the night because I'm holding it up and trying to keep up with stuff.
That's how I fall asleep every night. Now, clearly, as we heard, the individual is intensely engaged in technology. All these people are running around with smartphones, tablets, and laptops. They're not just transforming commerce, they're transforming governments. The protests last year that toppled governments in Egypt, Libya, Yemen, and Tunisia were grown and sustained online. Essentially, they were smartphone revolutions. But internet protests aren't just happening in the Middle East, they're happening much closer to home, just down the street in your neighborhood retail store. Now, many of you have heard about a growing phenomenon called showrooming. It's when the consumers browse through products at a brick-and-mortar retailer like Target, then purchase the products online for less. The fact that consumers are making showrooms out of big-box retailers is having a major impact on our business landscape. Now think about what's happened to CompUSA, Circuit City, Borders. How are these big-box retailers have just disappeared? Now many people are wondering if Best Buy is next. This is a classic example of how the rate of change can be overwhelming and disrupting, and in this case, to classic distribution channels, which is historically how we've all run our businesses. Let's go back for a moment and get some feedback directly from some of the connected customers as they talk about what they like and don't like about brands, how they want to relate to them, and how they want to purchase them anytime and anywhere.
I don't think consumers like to have things forced down their throat.
For connecting with people in my generation, there has to be a greater purpose, and so there has to be a connection beyond just the product.
Making sure it's a two-way conversation versus them just pushing out their products and services.
There's a lot of products, whether software for the most part, that I would like to test out or try, but in order to do that I have to submit email or I have to like their page, and
they have to know that I'm smart enough to understand how they're making money from me.
Communicate openly and honestly.
My expectations have become that it needs to be simple and easy.
I don't want to go through 17 pages to check out and to purchase something.
if I get frustrated, I'm going to close the page. I'm not going to go anywhere else.
I need to get the email saying, hey, there's a sale, here's the link, boom, I go there, this is the product I want, boom, it's in the shopping cart, boom.
Click bought.
Now, it's even more impactful, isn't it, when you hear customers share their personal perspectives. They're clearly setting the expectation that they want immediate response. The connected customer is sitting in the driver's seat when it comes to the accelerated rate of change. The question is, what does it mean for us in the commerce community, and how do we go about managing it? As you know, Digital River works with thousands of companies daily, and because of this, we're in a great position to see trends unfold across the industry and then develop the best practices to capitalize on them. We're an evidence-based organization. We test constantly. We know, for instance, by taking a local perspective and adding a payment option like ELV or GiroPay to a German store, you can see a 15 to 35% lift in sales. We know that because we've tested it and we've seen it work. We know that when you fail to localize your online stores as well, you risk a loss of about 30%. Again, we know because we've tested it. In a market that's being driven by accelerating change, the faster you can test and respond, the better off you are. Now, where do you stake your strategy, and what do you invest in next? Let's talk about that. One place we continue to press our clients to invest in is a fully localized strategy. Now, I know a lot of you have heard this before, but you're right. It's an internet basic that might not be novel, but it's very important. What is novel is the emphasis has shifted. Local is now the new global. What continues to surprise us is how many companies have not grasped how important going local is. We conducted a survey of 250 companies doing e-commerce. We're issuing a press release on this today, and we were surprised to find that only 57% had localized their store experience. Only 52% had localized language and currency. 43% had localized customer service and returns. If you extrapolate from the payment and localization examples I already gave, about half the companies surveyed are leaving 20 to 30% over their overall revenue on the table. Now, one of the things that we know from working with many companies like Microsoft and Logitech, is that in order to successfully reach your global customer, you need to empower and give more control to your local offices and managers. For one client, we're building out sites for 244 locales, all of which will be controlled by the regional managers. These managers will be tuning these sites to optimize for that local experience. Now, self-service becomes a critical part in this scenario, which is why one of our largest development investments is to give you more remote control tools so you can better manage at a local level. So why should you care about this? Ultimately, enabling your leaders to manage at a local level translates to more revenue for you and your company. Another place that we recommend you research is in your technology partnerships. There are many different technologies that we're finding out there that add to the rich commerce experience for the customer. Products that have rich ecosystems around them and that offer features like social marketing, user reviews, live chat gifting, and many others. Now, these applications can be very rich in their offering, but they also may be fleeting in their value. So one of the things we're focusing on is giving you the ability to disconnect and connect with ease. Enabling these integrations is the Digital River Connect service, surprising name. The service exposes our global commerce engine to the world through a series of self-service APIs, allowing more developers and systems integrators to leverage our technology stack and the global footprint. This service makes it easy for you to integrate your commerce experience with other partners and drive revenue. We're connected with market leaders like Salesforce, Bazaarvoice, Google Analytics, Omniture, and Gigya. Other API integrations on a near-term roadmap include Blue Kai, Telium, Janrain, Shoutlet, CY, LiveChat, Giftry, and more. This hub-and-spoke architecture is foundational to our long-term strategy. It gives you the flexibility you need to quickly integrate with new technologies and meet the needs of your customers. The end goal is by acting as a hub for those spoke technologies, your business is flexible today and prepared for what is coming. Now, the primary strategy to pay attention to, and in my mind's eye, the most important strategy for success is accelerating the move to going direct. This is why we all here, and I believe it's becoming an even greater opportunity for all of us as leaders and for our companies. B2C strategies are defining B2B models. You can think of it as a consumerization of business buying. In essence, a business buyer's expectations are shaped by their consumer experience. It doesn't matter whether you're a small business purchasing 50 products or a working mom buying groceries online, the buyer and technology requirements are increasingly the same. And we take what we've mastered in B2C and apply it to a direct-to-buyer scenario. For instance, your business buyers are already using search engines to find and evaluate the best products. Clients are using display advertising and remarketing as a key component to target business demographics. Site optimization to your business buyers matters every bit as much as it does for consumer sites. And finally, customer relationship management strategies that we use in B2C are very important in B2B when you're doing something like ensuring that that $50,000 order that you just got is renewed next year. This movement from B2C to B2B is a great opportunity for all of us in this room to define the next logical strategy for our companies. Clearly, this makes long-term sense for every company in the world.